Good morning, everyone. My name is Ricardo Perez, Sector Business Consultant with the Pathways to Success project here at DOR. We're here to present to you this month's STEM Career Series webinar. And this month, we are focusing in on civil service and employment with the government. Um, I'm going to be leading us off today, but as always, we're going to have uh, Stacy Gubler and Carla Martinez with me. So if you two want to pop in, introduce yourself fairly quickly.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Carla Martinez, and I'm the Sector Business Consultant for the Pathways to Success Project's Advanced Manufacturing and Biotech and Life Sciences sectors. I'll pass it over to Stacy.
Morning, everyone. My name is Stacy. For those of you who don't know me, I am the sector business consultant working on healthcare, construction, and transportation. Back to you, Ricardo.
Okay. As I mentioned, we are going to be covering civil service as far as positions you'll find in a city, county, state, or federal level. I want to ensure that everyone gets a top-down view of what the process is going to be like for every level. We are first going to start with, like as I mentioned, city and county. Then we'll move into state employment. We'll have a section for federal employment. And then at the end, we're going to talk about schools and other opportunities that are considered civil service positions. So with that, um, of course, we'll start with the city and county. Now, for many of you, if you think about the cities that you live in, nearby cities, the counties that you reside in, there are, of course, physicians to assist those to either run the city or run the county. Many different departments, many different ways to get in, but the processes are all fairly similar. Basically, it's a matter of you creating an application, putting together a resume, submitting whatever you have, and then either being invited to take an exam, or maybe there's a questionnaire that you'll have to fill out to be considered for the position. However, ideally, there may be programs that can assist you as far as how to get in, maybe alternative pathways. Those are really the things we're going to be focusing in on today, while still helping you better understand the application processes for these areas. So, on a city level, there are two major programs in California that we look at as far as methods to get into government practice. We're looking at the ACE program, which stands for the Access to City Employment Program for the city and county of San Francisco. And then Los Angeles has the LA Hire Bridge to Jobs program. Both of these programs are unique in the way that you don't necessarily have to take an exam in order to be considered for any of these positions. You simply either need to fill out the application, or in some cases just provide a resume and some sort of certification that allows you to be able to apply for some of these positions. Um, we'll start with Bridge to Jobs in Los Angeles. So, um, the difference between this program and, say, you, of course, applying for any other jobs through the main website is that this program, of course, as it states, seeks to hire individuals to semi-skilled classifications rather than entry-level positions. What this essentially means is that they're targeting specific positions that you could potentially come in at through this program. And so instead of having to take particular examinations, you simply need to apply for this, and it does provide what they'll consider as on-the-job training. For some of you who are familiar with what an apprenticeship might be, this could be an opportunity for you to come in and work for the city of LA. Because as you'll also notice on here, the only two major requirements is that you either have a high school diploma, GED, something equivalent, and of course an approved certification, primarily from DOR, that allows you to be eligible for any of those positions. Now, for the ACE program, for the City and County of San Francisco, on a similar note, it does require certification. This one is separate from the one in LA. And what it primarily does is allows you to apply for positions for the ACE program. Now, the ACE program, which is a little different than the Bridges program, is actually open to all entry-level positions for city and county in San Francisco. You simply need to find the classifications names, and then they will have a lettering on the classification line that states ACE. As long as you see something with ACE, you can apply to that position utilizing this program. And aside from you having your application completed, you also need this specific certification, which you can obtain from a DOR staff, local or otherwise. Now, you don't necessarily have to be DOR consumer to get these certifications. Primarily, when you are requesting this, you would just need to show proof of disability. Since many of you are already DOR consumers, you simply just need to ask your counselor, and your counselor should be able to provide you with these certifications. You'll see this theme as we move along for the other portions that'll be presented later, but yeah, I want you to keep that in mind is that you can request a lot of this from your counselors. Now, for the city and county, this is what that certification is going to look like, but not all of them are going to be the same. And it's essentially a document that you receive from us and then you attach. You are not to attach any medical documentation or medical records or anything of that nature. Simply put, you just need the certifications from us, and we'll provide you a document like this so that you can attach to those applications and apply. Okay. So for the county level, there are a handful of programs that do assist us. However, either it's very focused or very limited. So Alameda County has what's called the Step Up program. Contra Costa County has the Bridge to Success. LA County does have a what they'll say is like a DHP or disability hiring program. San Diego County has Jay's program, and then Sacramento County is working on a program, and it's slated to come out hopefully by the end of this year. But essentially, all of these are different takes on the two programs that were just mentioned. So, Step Up program may have positions on there. They are geared toward entry level. It's simply a matter of them putting it on their website. Contra Costa County Bridge to Success program is only limited to essentially students and students who are referred to the regional center. The Los Angeles County Disability Hiring Program, those are primarily like internships, but they are paid internships. And the only way to be eligible for those is to provide, now you need just to provide a Schedule A letter. And to obtain one of those, Stacy will cover that later on in the presentation. Jay's program, similar to Contra Costa, it's limited to students in a particular population, and then the Sacramento County program remains to be seen at this point. We know that they're developing something, but we don't know any of the details yet. However, it's supposed to mimic something similar to San Francisco and LA. So for finding this sort of work, there are a couple of websites I'm going to highlight for you. However, everyone might be a little different. A majority of city and county-based positions are going to be on these websites. The first one here is governmentjobs.com. When you're looking on here, you can also see city and county jobs for not just California, but pretty much across the nation. A majority of them also host all of their applications on this website. So say, for instance, you were to look for work in, say, like San Mateo County, they have all of their information on here. It's automatically linked back to here. However, there are some entities that utilize other websites. It could be something like Job Apps. It could be something like Workday. It could be something like Smart Recruiters. The thing is that everyone may have something hosted a little different, but a majority, again, are located on these websites. The other website, of course, is calops.org, similar to governmentjobs.com, but these primarily focus on cities and counties within the state of California. Only a few of these may link back to governmentjobs.com, and but otherwise everything else on here is primarily focused on positions that either have their own dedicated website or use something similar. The application process for all of these is going to vary, but the thematic things of how you put together an application, putting together your resume, all that's still going to remain the same. Um, Creating your application is going to be essentially different than what you've experienced for a private entity, because everything you're going to put in there is going to be relevant to the position. Since we are talking about government here, whatever you're putting in there needs to really speak to whatever position you are applying to. And by that, I mean, whether you've had classes and volunteer experience before, or, you've worked so many years and you have experience from like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and you want to apply it to here because it's still knowledge that's functional, by all means. That's really what its purpose is. And then as far as how the structure is going to look like, you could potentially copy and paste from your resume the bullet points, but then you'll just need to convert all that you put in there into paragraph format. So again, for work experiences, for volunteer work, anything else that were project based that you obtained your skills from would need to be put in paragraph format when applying for any of these positions. But whatever you put in there, if it requires like a resume or cover letter, things like that, all of those will be highlighted to the information you put on the application. And once again, you may either have to fill out like a supplemental questionnaire that are going to be asking you questions geared toward the specific position that you're applying to, or you'll submit your application and then once accepted, we'll be invited to take an exam. Sometimes it'll be an online exam, and sometimes you might actually have to go to a physical location being run by a city or county entity in order to get on that eligibility list. Everyone's a little different, so just understand anything in civil service is going to require a little bit of patience. Whether it's 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, everyone has their own designated time as far as how they are going to be able to review your applications, bring you in for interviews, and have you start the job. Because, of course, everything is still based on a budget. So, again, you're going to need patience when you are coming into this realm. A few quick tips. And these are items that you can utilize, of course, not just for the city and county, but also for state and federal level. Adhere to deadline dates. Pay attention to when postings are put up and then when they're planning on being closed. Pay attention to all the application requirements. So I'm simply saying, application and resume. Others might include, like I said, the questionnaire or a cover letter or transcripts, things like that. Pay attention to what you need to complete and provide. Continuously tailor and alter your applications and resumes to showcase relevant information for each job posting or duty statement. All the duty statements, all the job postings has every keyword and understanding for you to know what you should be putting on these applications. They are not going to be the same across the board. There is no simple copy and paste all the way around. You have to constantly tailor and edit to make your application make sense for those positions. Because again, focusing on the keywords is crucial here, as many government entities are paying attention to those. That's how they're scoring you. That's how they're reviewing your information. If you're not hitting those keywords, they don't know what you have done in the past that relates to the work that they're asking you to do. Okay, so with that, I'm now going to pass it on to Stacy, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the state process.
Awesome. Thank you, Ricardo. All right. So moving into California state employment, just the first thing I'd like to remind everybody is, like Ricardo said, when it comes to government employment, it could be months after you apply until you hear from someone or until you get hired. So a 3-6 month gap in your application to, getting a job is very, very normal. And it could be even longer. When it comes to federal government, they do very in-depth background checks for some positions. So I've seen it take over a year for some people to go from application to hiring date. Next slide, Ricardo. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is the state's limited examination and appointment program, and we call that LEAP. Next slide. All right, so LEAP is the limited examination and appointment program that allows applicants with disabilities to demonstrate competencies through a job examination period. Sometimes we refer to that as a JEP. And to be eligible for the LEAP program, applicants must be certified by DOR and complete the following steps. First, take the LEAP readiness evaluation to obtain eligibility. This is also sometimes called a minimum qualifications assessment. So later on in the presentation, you'll hear me talking about assessments, how it's crucial to complete the assessment before you apply. And through LEAP, we call these readiness evaluations or minimum qualifications assessment. The next thing after you've taken and passed that exam, you're going to apply for job openings. And then if you're selected, you will complete a job examination period. So during that job examination period, you'll actually be working that position. You'll have monthly check-ins with your supervisor. And if you successfully complete that, you'll be transitioned to a permanent employee. Next slide, Ricardo. All right. So there are a couple different ways to find LEAP exams. I'm going to go over my preferred method with you guys in a couple of slides, but the other method you can choose is to land on our state hiring homepage, which is calcareers.gov, or I like to use jobs.ca.gov, takes you to the same page. And then you'll see persons with disabilities right on the center of the page. So you can go ahead and click that icon. And then the next page you see in the lower right-hand corner here is where you can find LEAP exams. So if you click that magnifying glass, it'll take you to an entire list of LEAP exams where we house all of our LEAP readiness exams. And great. So the job examination period, or the JEP that we mentioned earlier, is when participants are hired as limited term employees. During that time, you'll receive monthly performance evaluations. And then once you successfully pass, you will be transitioned to a permanent employee. Now, one important thing to note is that limited term employees are entitled to all the same medical and leave benefits as permanent employees. And also, when you successfully pass the LEAP readiness evaluation, that will give you a priority status for hiring. So we'll cover that a little bit more later in the presentation, but it is a really great idea to take a LEAP exam for that priority status. Great. Okay, so like I already mentioned, after you complete the job examination period, or the JEP, you're appointed as a permanent employee. And another important thing to note is that this appointment bypasses any additional probationary period. So the traditional probation period that you would go through as a permanent state employee, you've already completed that during the JEP, so you won't have to repeat that. So that's a great benefit as well. One other thing we want to highlight is that it is a benefit to take both the standard and the LEAP exam. It's really up to you if you want to take both, but we do encourage to take the LEAP exam as well, because some managers can choose to hire exclusively from a LEAP hiring list. So they have the option of saying, please send me LEAP candidates only. So if you've taken and passed the standard exam, but you never took the LEAP exam, then you wouldn't be included in that list. So completing both exams can broaden the opportunities that you are reachable for state positions. So how to obtain your LEAP certification. This is what your CalCareers profile will look like. So once you go to the landing page, you'll hit create an account, or you might already have a CalCareers account. So once you do that, you want to go to your profile and look under contact information. Your contact information is going to have your user ID, your CalCareer ID, and a space for you to enter your social security number. It's really important to enter your social security number, because that is how we can LEAP certify you. If your social security number is not in your CalCareers account, then we can't link your LEAP certification to CalCareers. So when you're requesting a LEAP certification, just make sure that you've entered your social security number into your CalCareers account under contact information. And this is just an example of the confirmation letter that we'll send you once we're able to confirm your LEAP certification. So once we've done the back end part in our system, we'll check and make sure that your social security number is in your CalCareers account and that it matches. And once those steps are completed, we can send you a confirmation letter that looks something like this. All right. So now just a few more tips on how to apply for state jobs. Once again, this is your landing page, so you can type in jobs.ca.gov or calcareers.ca.gov. Either way, you're going to end up on this page. And one of the helpful tools that we have on this page is this little icon with a handshake that says Get a State Job. So it's the first icon on the page. And if you click that, it'll show you what's on our next slide, which is our workforcalifornia.ca.gov. So on this page, you'll find upcoming hiring events for different departments, helpful videos on how to start your state career, how to create a career CalCareers account, and how to search for jobs on CalCareers. So this is just supplemental information that you can refer back to if you're having trouble. And they also have some really cool videos showing you a day in the life of some of our state employees and what those classifications might look like on a normal day. All right, so back to creating your profile. Once you have created your CalCareers account, you will click in the upper right-hand corner to go to your profile, and then you'll have this menu on the left-hand side of the screen. So when you scroll down on the page, you'll be able to enter your application template, which is what I recommend. Always save your template for the positions that you're applying for. It takes some time to be able to create a really great application template. But once you do, with a few minor modifications, you can use that same template to apply to many, many different jobs. And also, I just want to highlight again that you'll find your social security number information under contact information. So make sure you get that entered so we can make you LEAP certified. All right, so searching for a state job. There are two tabs that I really like to use when I'm looking for a state job, and they are the Advanced Job Search tab and the Geographic Job Search tab. So under Advanced Job Search, you can search for jobs by classification. On our next slide, I'll tell you kind of how to narrow down the classifications that you want to apply for. But once you've found that classification, you can search by the state department that you want to work for. You can search by the job classification, and you can add your geographic area. So Advanced Job Search is definitely my favorite thing to use to find jobs. You can also type in a job title or a keyword, but I really like the Advanced Job Search to narrow down the positions that I'm interested in. The next option is the Geographic Job Search, and that'll show you all the state jobs available by county. So, you know, if you live in Orange County, you might want to look at LA County, San Diego County, Riverside County. You know, you can just really look, cast a wide net. One thing that we always like to share with people is the hardest part of getting a state job is getting your first job. So in order to get your foot in the door, I think it's okay to look at positions that maybe aren't your long-term goal, but it's just your first step into public service. So once you get your foot in the door, you work that job for about a year, and you'll have a lot more opportunity to move around between departments at that time. Next slide. All right, so this is how you're going to find your classifications. So if you are on the home page and you look at the icons on the top of the page, there's one that says Get a State Job. If you scroll about halfway down the page, you're going to come across these job categories. So you can actually search by industry, just to name a few. There's construction and extraction, healthcare practitioners and technical, healthcare support, life, physical, and social sciences. So there's a lot of categories on here, 22 categories. So you can click into those categories, and that'll show you some of the classifications that fall under that. So you can go back to Advanced Job Search and search for those specific classifications. All right. So now you're going to select a job that you're interested in. And when you find a job that you're interested in by searching through Advanced Search or Geographic Search, you're going to land on a page like this. The heading of the page is going to be what you see on the left-hand side of the screen here. And when you scroll about halfway down the page, you're going to see this little gray box that goes over your minimum requirements, the application package checklist, and the duty statement. So those are 3 things you're going to want to check for all the jobs that you're applying for. First, make sure you meet the minimum qualification and that it's not a waste of time to start looking through the assessment or applying for the job. And the duty statement is going to really break down what those job duties are. And it gives you percentages, like you'll spend this percentage of time doing analyst tasks. You'll spend this percentage of time doing, administrative or typing tasks. So the duty statement's a really great way to get an idea of what you're going to be doing. And also you can use the duty statement to strengthen your application and resume to really show that you have those skills and know how to perform that job. The other thing I would point out are special requirements. So like Ricardo mentioned earlier, some jobs might need you to provide proof of graduation, either a high school diploma or a college degree. You may be asked to provide transcripts, but the one that I see the most often is statement of qualifications. So we're not going to go into that too deeply today, but we do have some templates and some guidance for you on statement of qualifications. It is something you'll often see required as part of your state application checklist. And so please work with your business consultant if you have any questions on that, or even if you see it on a job posting, just go ahead and reach out to us and we'll provide that guidance for you. All right. So the next step is to hit apply now, but you're not actually going to apply yet. But that's what it looks like. You're on that main job description page and you just go ahead and hit apply now. Next slide. All right, and then stop, because before applying, you have to take the assessment to establish list eligibility. So this is my favorite way to find the exam that matches to the position that you're looking at. And on the left hand of the screen, you see, can I apply for this job? And then if you haven't taken the exam, and if you want to make sure you have, click I want to obtain eligibility. Once you do that, the exams for that position will pop up, and it'll pop up both the LEAP exam as well as the standard exam. Remember that you can take both, but it'll give you your options right there. So you can hit I want to obtain eligibility, then click on the link for the exam that you want to take. That's going to open another page. It's going to look like another job application, and you're actually going to hit apply now on the exam. Most of the time it'll make you sign in again. These are all normal steps. So just continue through the process, sign into your account, verify it's you, and that'll take you over to the exam that you need to take and pass before you can apply. So I'm just going to say that one more time. You have to take and pass the exam before you apply for the job. Next slide. All right. So once you've taken and passed the exam, you can go back to the job posting, hit apply now, and then this time you're going to choose I have eligibility. Once you hit you have eligibility, then you can go ahead and hit apply for this job. One other thing I want to mention before I just go into the help screen is that once you take the exam for that specific classification, so if you take an analyst exam, if you take an office technician exam, you now have eligibility for any job under that classification. So again, that's why I like to use advanced job search and search by classification, because once I know what classification I've already passed the exam for, and I know what kind of jobs I'm looking for, then I can just search for that classification within my geographic area. And if you run into any problems applying for the job, any technical issues, that's when we're going to go ahead and you can contact CalCareer by phone or by email. You know, if you need to request any accommodations, that information is usually in the job description, but you can also reach out to CalCareer for that as well. All right, so we're going to move on to Schedule A hiring and the federal government. Next slide. Okay, so USA Jobs is the main recruitment tool for the federal government. There's no www or anything like that. I mean, you can type it if you want, but you could just type in usajobs.gov and you're going to reach this landing page. And the next thing I like to do is scroll down about halfway down the page, and you're going to see what jobs can you apply for. And then there's 4 hiring paths that are listed right now. But if you click the little button that says learn about all hiring paths, you're going to see this screen below. So 2 of the most common ones to use are the recent graduates hiring path and the individuals with disabilities hiring path. The next few things I show you are all going to be found under the individuals with disabilities hiring pathway. So just to recap those steps, you're going to go to usajobs.gov, scroll about halfway down, hit learn about all hiring paths, and then choose individuals with disabilities. Next slide. Awesome. So the Schedule A hiring authority, and I'm going to put like a little asterisk on this, expedited hiring process. That is very unusual. Just hiring with the federal government, hiring with the state government, it just takes a long time. So it says expedited, but it would still probably be a few months. But the cool thing about the Schedule A hiring authority is that agents can hire qualified individuals directly, bypassing the standard competitive and lengthy public posting process. Also, it can be a non-competitive appointment, meaning hiring managers can appoint qualified candidates with disabilities directly to positions, and that reduces sometimes the time it takes to fill vacancies. It also serves as a key tool for federal agencies to meet disability employment goals and build a more inclusive, diverse, and skilled workforce. Next slide. All right. So this one is really kind of cool. So candidates applying under Schedule A authority can apply without using USA Jobs, which can make the process more accessible. And the way you're going to do that is through a selective placement program coordinator, and we're going to go over that in the next couple slides. It also offers some flexibility in hiring, where agencies can hire individuals on a permanent or temporary basis with the option to convert temporary staff into permanent positions once they prove their ability to perform the job duties. It's a lot like the job examination period that we just discussed. And also accommodation support. So it ensures that needed accommodations, equipment, interpreters, modified duties are in place, fostering success in the role. Next slide. So this is what a Schedule A letter would look like. If you would like a Schedule A letter, contact your DOR counselor or your business consultant. We'll work together to get you what you need. As you can see on the form, it does ask for an employer name and address. So if you have that, it would be great to provide that so we can get that all filled out for you. Your counselor is going to sign that, add all their contact information, and then you are going to attach that Schedule A letter along with your resume and your cover letter and anything else that you would need to apply for a job. Next slide. Awesome. So when you create your USA Jobs profile, you can add a hiring pathway like we talked about earlier. So if you look under the text box, it says hiring paths. This is from the website, so it's part of your profile. You'll click your name in the upper right-hand corner, click profile, scroll about halfway down the page, and it'll say hiring path. And then you can add, I'm an individual with a disability, I'm a recent graduate, I am a US citizen. Add as many hiring paths as you can. And that just increases some of those opportunities for you. The next step would be making your resume searchable. So the agencies that are looking for people eligible under Schedule A will be able to find your resume and reach out to you directly. Also, I want to mention that for the federal government, you do write that you are a Schedule A candidate on your resume, on your cover letter, and you attach a Schedule A letter. I want to highlight that that is different from the state process. So for the state, you would not want to mention that you are a LEAP candidate in your resume, in your profile, or anywhere else. The hiring managers or HR will have a list of LEAP candidates, but you do not put it on your resume or your cover letter or anything else. For the federal government, it's the exact opposite. So you are going to mention that you are a Schedule A candidate on your resume and your cover letter and attach your Schedule A letter. Next slide, please. All right. So selective placement program coordinators. This is one of the coolest parts of the Schedule A hiring pathway for the federal government. When you can find the right person and get in touch with them, it can make a huge difference. So a selective placement program coordinator, also known as an SPPC, helps agencies recruit, hire, and accommodate people with disabilities. The SPPC can guide you through the application process and answer questions. Most federal agencies have an SPPC or an equivalent role. And if you are a person with a disability and interested in a job opportunity, contact the agency SPPC using the directory. Now, this is what I mentioned earlier when I said you can actually apply for jobs without using usajobs.gov if you are in contact with an SPPC. So you can give them your resume and your Schedule A letter directly, and they can search for vacancies within their department that might be a good fit for you, which allows you to bypass that competitive hiring process that we mentioned earlier. Next slide, please. So this is the SPPC directory. This is what it looks like. And once again, you are going to navigate there from the individual with disabilities hiring pathway. So about halfway down on that first screen, you'll click on individuals with disabilities and you will land on this. Well, there will be an option to view the SPPC directory. So one thing I wanted to point out on here was there are 222 coordinators across 81 agencies. That's a pretty big number. What I found in my personal experience is that SPPCs can sometimes be difficult to get a hold of. So if you reach out to someone and they don't respond to you, you don't hear from someone for a couple weeks, then I think that it's appropriate to look at the next person on the list. I also wanted to highlight that although there's an option to search by state, you don't need to search by state. If there is an SPPC for Departments of Veterans Affairs in Washington, they can help you with jobs in California, or they'll direct you to the SPPC for your local region. So you don't have to search by state. You don't have to find a coordinator in this state. You can search by agency, or you can go just down the list and see if there's any departments that you're interested in that are listed on this directory. Next slide. Okay, great. So I have a little star and an arrow pointing to make your resume searchable because that's one of the things we talked about earlier. So once again, from your profile, you're going to go to add or build resume. You can upload a resume, or you can use the resume builder that's shown on the right to enter all of your experience, and they'll create a federal resume template for you. Once you've completed your resume, you can make it searchable. So doing that will increase opportunities. So, if you're comfortable with that, if you'd like to do it, go ahead, and the recruiters will be able to find you that way. All right, so some tips for the work experience section. Use concise, results-focused language. Use numbers, percentages, dollars, or descriptions to highlight your accomplishments. So this is what we talked about earlier in our resume building workshop. You want to use accomplishment-based statements. That is the best way to develop your resume in your work experience section. You want to focus on the work experience that is most relevant to the job you are applying for. So, if you have a fast food job that doesn't really apply to the nursing job, then that's not something you would really need to include. You do want to include relevant volunteer work and roles in community organizations that demonstrate how you qualify for the job. Use similar terms and address every required qualification. So in the federal job duties statement, there are going to be required qualifications, and you pretty much want to use them word for word. So that's this red section here where it says if the qualification section says you need experience with MS Project, you need to use the word MS Project in your resume. The federal government always used a lot of word matching, and a lot of departments and even private sector companies do. They want to see the words in the job description on your resume. So make sure you're searching for those and listing them in your relevant job experience. Also, remove or deprioritize outdated or unrelated work experience. And the biggest difference in federal resumes is that you need to include the amount of hours you worked per week. So if you work 40 hours per week, 20 hours per week, 50 hours per week, go ahead and include that in your work experience section. The last thing is the education section. You're just going to want to include the name of the school, the completion date, the degree type, and your GPA. So again, that can be a little bit different with federal resumes, but you're going to want to include all that information in your education section. Next slide. All right, so some final federal resume tips. When you're ready to apply, do a final review and ask yourself, can a hiring agency see my main credentials within 10 to 15 seconds? Does critical information jump off the page? Do I effectively sell myself on the top quarter of the first page? Are there any spelling or grammatical errors? Have I addressed all the qualifications listed on the job announcement? And our most recent update is that resumes must be 2 pages or less. In the past, if you've applied for federal jobs or come to an older workshop, federal resumes used to be 4 to 10 pages long. Now they need to be 2 pages or less. So using whatever resume you have for the private sector, it could be a good transition into a federal resume as well. And then finally, you can have someone else with a good eye for detail, maybe one of your business consultants, review your resume. Just send us the job link and the resume you want to use to apply for the job, and we can check that out for you. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Carla for other public sector employment.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Stacy. So next, I want to go over some employment opportunities that we don't always think about when we think about public sector opportunities. And these entities typically have their own hiring processes and vary from organization to organization. So I will not be going in depth about how to apply, but I will be going over some honorable mentions and some ways to access those job postings. Next slide, please. Beginning with colleges and universities that are publicly funded, we have our California Community Colleges, California State Universities, University of California, that offer some STEM career pathways. So to name a few examples, these institutions offer faculty, instructional, lab and research, driving and transportation roles, maintenance and trades, counseling, psychology, nurses. They also hire IT support, network engineers, and physical therapists to keep their athletes safe. Next slide, please. So as a recall to our Job Search Strategies webinar, it's always best to apply directly through the employer's website. However, I would like to highlight higheredjobs.com as a viable job board for four-year institutions. And so through this website, if you play around with your filters that are, there are a lot of good ones. You can filter by category, location, type of school, and type of job. You can really narrow down to what you're looking for. So you may get a mixed bag of private and public school opportunities, but a lot of our UCs, Cal States, and community colleges tend to advertise their jobs there as well. So higheredjobs.com is a pretty reliable resource that you can use to access those jobs. Next slide, please. Next, we have public schools, and public school and public school district employment opportunities can be categorized in 2 types of employment. You have your certificated employment and classified employment. Certificated jobs are those that require licenses and credentials. So if you are on track to becoming a STEM teacher or a school counselor, to name a couple of examples, you may be already familiar with those credentialing processes. So examples of certificated employment include teachers, substitute teachers, education specialists, counselors, speech and language pathologists, etc. And of course, we need our STEM teachers to provide instruction in the life sciences, math, physics, technology, and the trades. And so if you have not considered becoming a teacher, those are some of the subjects that align with STEM backgrounds. And then we have our classified employment. Those are the behind the scenes roles to support student learning in more indirect ways. So classified employment may still require a background check and health screenings, just as an FYI, because they want to keep their students safe. And examples include school nurse, you can work in maintenance, you can work in the IT help desk and cybersecurity, audio, visual, and media technicians may be hired as classified employees as well. Next slide, please. And so this next slide just details more STEM job titles for reference and potential units and departments and teams where STEM talent might be needed. Next slide, please. And edjoin.org is a trusted website for public school job postings. As a reminder, it's always best to go directly through the employer's website if you're looking for opportunities within a specific school district. Next slide, please. Lastly, county offices of education are huge, generously funded entities through which you can consider government employment opportunities. So, what is a county office of education? County offices of education are the regional hubs of California's K through 12 education system. So instead of running individual schools like school districts do, COEs support all districts in the county, providing services in technology, data systems, cybersecurity, educational programs, fiscal oversight, and professional development and technical assistance. So they're kind of like the governing body, and they also provide a lot of supports to the school districts. So county offices of education may hire for similar roles as school districts. The difference is that they offer broader, more system-wide roles that sometimes involve higher level technical work or analytical work, although sometimes they do higher entry level as well. And I'm a strong proponent for COEs because that's actually where I started my career as a workforce development professional, which then evolved into a counseling career. And so I just want to mention the COEs because when I first got hired at a COE, I had no idea what it was or what I would be doing. And they ran the welfare to work program for the county and had this like very long contract with them. All of this to say is not to sleep on county offices of education, public school opportunities, or even opportunities with public schools, with public colleges and universities, because you never know when they may offer something that may be aligned with what you studied for. And then the link on the third bullet point will take you to a complete directory of COEs throughout the state, including websites, so for your reference, if you're interested in applying for COE opportunities, definitely check out the nearest one near you. Back to you, Ricardo.
Thank you so much. And so with that, that does conclude this presentation on civil service. Again, we gave you a very top-down view of everything. We try to give you as much information as we could, but I know you're going to have questions and you're going to need clarifications on some of the things that we talked about. So please feel free to reach out to either one of us, your sector business consultants, or send us an email, however you like. That way we can help you if you are interested in finding work in civil service, any government path, what have you. Do let us know.